Sorry. I'm just filming the beautiful chemtrails.
I don't blame you.
Sandra Roy. I'm very grateful that Deborah Tavares is sitting here with me. We're at the venue of AV10, and it's been a very generous and abundant crowd. And Deborah is kind enough to have a quick word with me. I just had a word with Mark Steele, and I heard your lecture, and Deborah's field is climate change, radiation, 5G, and
smart meters, primary water, the fact that we're being deceived about where water comes from and we're being told that we're running out of water. I run several websites. My main site is stopthecrime.net, stopthecrime.net. Also, we run primarywater.org. I am here in the UK during the AV conference that we're attending from Northern California. Many of you may remember the horrific fires that raged in California in 2017 and 2018. We're from the burn zones, and we've seen really literally thousands of homes burn during those fires. And we talk about that on stopthecrime.net on our YouTube channel. But we also talk about much more. We talk about the hidden agenda that's in play and the silent weapons that have been deployed on all of us. And I suppose what I would like to say to everybody that would be watching right now, we are at a time when whatever degree of action that you feel like you can take, I would recommend that you do. Everybody needs to engage now. Mm-hmm. We're literally close at hand to an extinction event of our physical being. And what do I mean by that? We have 5G being deployed across our cities. They're small cells. They're going to be deployed by the thousands upon thousands. These are military-grade frequencies being sold to us as communication devices. And I would highly, highly recommend that you look at the AV conference participants and the discussions around 5G and understand the action that is required of all of you that are listening to this YouTube.
Deborah, could you please talk about a little bit the wildfires in California?
Absolutely. Many of you may have watched the burn zones and looked at the aftermath. I have a very important YouTube up. It's called The Plan to Burn Up Northern California. Again, that's The Plan to Burn Up Northern California. We were hit with a multiple assault. This is a war. This is a war that was conducted. It's being conducted worldwide. California is not the only area that's being burned. There were fires in Portugal and in Greece. But in 2017, when my area lost about 6,000 properties, we saw flickers in the sky that night of the fires. We saw the change of weather conditions that provided for what they call a red flag fire warning. And our homes in the area just absolutely exploded. These were all house-to-house ignitions. And many of the trees around these properties remained green. You can take a look at those pictures. Hopefully you've all seen them by now. This is happening worldwide. We learned today, actually, at the AV conference, something I didn't know, and why we're sharing this information with you right now is because we're not being told what's happening in other countries. And we heard that in South Korea, back in April, I believe it was of this year, 5 cities literally started on fire because they turned on 5G. And again, as we mentioned, this is an extinction event. It is literally dustification. It's turning structures into dust. It's a cremation. And
yeah, what's the situation now after the fires? Have they restored, or can you please tell us?
yeah, well, after the fires, I think it's important to understand that most people did not have enough insurance and they can't rebuild. And the cities are implementing new codes and regulations that are also not reachable. And the insurance, they're not insuring properties now that are in the burn zones. So we have many people that are displaced, have moved out of the area. Rents have skyrocketed because of the limited housing. We are in the wine country about 60 miles north of San Francisco, and many of the properties in the beach areas are Airbnb properties. And Airbnb is run by Google. That's who's behind Airbnb. And contractually, that eliminates local housing for month-to-month rents for people, because as people can make more money out of renting property for a weekend, that maybe the same money they can make renting for an entire month to someone local, they're choosing to make the additional revenue. And we found that the housing is being absorbed through Airbnb.
Is it the same situation like in New Orleans?
Yes. Well, in New Orleans, after Hurricane Harvey, we found out that, well, actually, I'm talking about Houston and Hurricane Harvey. We found out that millions of acres were sprayed by the U.S. Air Force to kill the mosquitoes. They were hit with a neurotoxin. We're being assaulted with toxins all over the world under the guise of helping us, and they're actually poisoning us.
Absolutely. I heard as far as like property, well, it is a business, and that's the agenda to rise the property prices. I lived a little bit on and off in New York. Last time I was there a long time ago, 2004. And what they've done basically to Manhattan is they've cleared out all the Harlem and all the projects. And they've relocated these people, depending on welfare and council houses, out of Manhattan. I did not understand, was it Brooklyn or Bronx or I don't know where, but basically Manhattan is not the same place anymore. New York is not the same place. I've been told by local residents. They're like, you don't want to go there. It's like this weird little elf city with all these posh rich people and an island floating like on its own. So they're doing this, I think, everywhere there.
They are.
Yeah.
In fact, after the horrific Hurricane Sandy that hit New York a number of years ago, there have been a number of homes that have never been rebuilt in the coastal areas. And most recently, we discovered that the coastlines are under attack, just as the overhead aerial chemtrailing program is assaulting us from the skies, and we're massively assaulted today here in this beautiful estate area. We're seeing
it was awful. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's very, very heavy. But we've discovered that all of the coastlines worldwide are under attack. In the same way that they're using the technologies overhead, they're using the technologies along the coastline to force retreats. And of course, what do I mean by that? Well, 70% of the world's population lives around the coastlines. And they're using blast wave accelerators. This sounds crazy, and it is. And we have a YouTube up called Coastlines Under Attack, so that all of you that are listening can look at that and understand the enormity of what we face. What we're hearing and what we're seeing now, and what initially happened, and I guess I need to set that up a little bit, back in World War II, had either of the atomic bombs not detonated, the United States and Auckland had invented what they call a tsunami bomb. And they were going to use it on the low-lying areas of Japan, but they didn't need to because the bombs detonated. But they've been using these tsunami bombs. It's called Operation SEAL, S-E-A-L. And it's coastal erosion, and literally it's eroding the coastlines, and we're being told that we're going to have to relocate. So what you're seeing in New York and what you mentioned about the displacement, what they're seeing with the forced migration is the largest migration of the global population from the coastal areas in the history, in any recorded history. And this is all by the use of technology for the time being. And they're riding on the back of normal weather conditions and natural conditions. But now, because of all of the weapons systems, this is being exacerbated. And so I think the best news, and I want to share the best news is primary water. The best news is we are not running out of water as we're being told that we are. Water is a renewable. And I would recommend you share the best news far and wide. Go to primarywater.org. Take a look at the reality of water. We've only sadly been taught that water comes from rain and snowmelt. That's the atmospheric water. That's not primary water. Primary water comes from the process down below the mantle of the convergence of hydrogen and oxygen, which turns to vapor and then surfaces. It is a renewable.
Okay.
And it is gorgeous fresh water, and people that can access primary water have a higher IQ.
What about having my own well on the property?
Yeah. People that have wells and that have local drillers drill for the well, it's like going to a medical doctor. Most well drillers are not aware of primary water, so they drill the wells to the general depths where they hit water. Doesn't necessarily mean that they've drilled in the right geological conditions to hit primary water. And you have to get into the right rock structures where the water then comes in, and there's certain ways that you develop the wells after you drill them. Generally, they'll just drill, they'll case them and gravel pack the wells. That doesn't allow the water to come in from the sides of the boreholes and allow the primary water to develop. So I won't go into more detail right now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is very technical. You need to be closer to basically the source. You can't be in big cities. I don't think you can access it there. Anyone with their own property or a townhouse in the middle, even in a smallish town, you can't access that.
Well, the sad reality is, though, and a very important bit of information that I think everybody needs to look at are the effects of the climate action plans that have been adopted in all of our cities worldwide. So I would type in the name of your city wherever you are, followed by, on your search bar, the name of your city and climate action plan. And you will see the climate action plan. What is contained in that are the reductions of all resource usage. We're talking about the reduction of water, the reduction of electricity, which is why the smart meters were deployed. They are a requirement under the climate action plans, as well as the wireless water meters also. And this is going to create a new business model. It's a global disruption where all properties, all homes, all buildings, all commercial, everything is going to have to retrofit windows, electric appliances. No gas, no natural gas will be allowed in the retrofitting process of homes.
Is it a smart meter type of tech?
Well, all of the new the Energy Star appliances are all wireless. They transmit all of the accessibility of the use of everything in your home, including the new faucets for your sinks and the new shower heads, wireless to your smart water meters. And the increased frequencies in the home are going to destroy our biological structures.
Absolutely. I was having a word with Mark Steele, of course, 5G, but I'll be honest, the smart meters that I was living with in London, there was 15 smart meters on each floor, were far more detrimental on my sort of well-being and overall. I mean, chronic fatigue and total anxiety. You know, you get that horrible restless feeling all the time, and people couldn't live in that building. It was an office converted into apartment block. And now with the 5G street lamp, I did not say that during Mark talk, but basically there is a way to cover the 5G street lamp. It can't really move through walls, but the smart meter, it can. It can move through many walls into your flat and completely disrupt you.
It's a spy grid. It's a spy grid, and it's a control of energy use. And what the climate action plans provide or require is the reduction of 2 degrees Celsius in order to stop climate change. So everyone needs to understand the audacity here in these plans. If you look at it and what the plans tell us, in order to reduce climate change or to minimize the effects of climate change, we have to reduce and eliminate all machinery and use and literally live in the year 1750.
Yeah. We were talking about the water installments that they want to do digital into each individual property. Is that
the wireless water meters? Those are being deployed now if they haven't already been on your property. Again, the plan is control of all resources and the ability to create allotments and minimize use. And we were talking about the fact that there's just too many people using too much stuff, and the only way they're saying that we can survive is to reduce the population.
Yeah.
And that's what the climate action plans really are. These are genocide policies.
Where did you get a hold of these documents, just for the viewer?
Yeah. Type in the name of your town. For example, if I lived in London, I would type in London, climate action plan, all of that on your search line.
Yeah, you did mention that. Okay.
Yeah.
And that how is it public?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I did my degree in WHO policies and Agenda 21. And we were, yes, given public access to statistical database showing the plan by 2030 and the mortality rate and the world population. And the figures, they reflected genocide.
Right. Well, the deagle.com website, which I talk about on stopthecrime.net, if you go to the YouTube video channel, look up 5G and the reduction of the population. It's an interview I did about the deagle.com website. And for the UK, their intentions are to reduce the population by 2025, 73% reduction. In Australia, they're eliminating the population again by the year 2025. I think that's about 50%. In the United States, it's, as I recall, about 84%. So the cause of these population reductions are going to be suicides, increased suicides, and the inability to psychologically adjust to relocations. We're talking about massive planned migration.
Absolutely. I can bring an example. We went to Egypt with my mother, and basically whoever we came in contact with, they were very curious for some reason about our age, local civilians. And when I told them that I am 35, then they were like, oh my God, you're so old. And when they heard my mother's age, so what was happening was, it was like this weird SG1 sort of planet that we were visiting, where everyone was young and nobody grew older than 50 years old. At 50, you are meant to die. You are meant to depart by those ages, and that's exactly what's already happening in many countries, and it is very frequent in Middle Eastern countries. They have really achieved their goal there. It's the obesity rate, and and everything. I mean, obviously the wars and economy. And it's very subtle here in Europe. In Scandinavian countries, they want you to wear diapers already by 50. I know in Norway and Sweden, it's a very big business, the elderly care houses, facilities, and they're multiplying like prison sort of buildings around the country. It's a very big business.
Yeah,
And
that's smart
yeah.
cities. It's also a way in which the bankers that are laundering money that has been stolen from the general populations are investing their dollars by building these high rises and these multi-unit living spaces, because many of these spaces are vacant. People can't afford the rents. And that certainly ties into the ghost cities that many of you may have heard about in China, where they literally built entire cities that were vacant.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
And now they've been, well, as of the past few years, they're going out to the countryside, the military, and forcing the farmers to move into these cities to occupy them. And many of the farmers are committing suicide. They're not going to move off their land. So what we find happening is we know that we need to be out of the big cities and in the country, but we know too that there's what is called the Wildlands Project, the Wildlands Map, and you can type that in, Wildlands Map, and you will see the intention of the elites to confine us into restricted areas where open space is access denied for us. And we're going to continue to be herded by weather weapons and punished. Cities will be punished if they do not implement the requirements of the United Nations.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, we were talking about it. Iran just recently had a huge flood, and it was coincidentally right after the meeting between Trump and Israeli concern over their, it was right after their meeting in the White House, and as well between Putin and Israeli Prime Minister. So the flood happened right after, and it was as a disciplinary. And this is what you're referring to.
Well, I am. I'm also talking and want to mention about what's happening in Venezuela right now. Venezuela is being taken over by the cabal, and they've been cut off of trade. They're trying to stop any sales of their petroleum to Cuba. So this is a takedown of Venezuela and Cuba right now by the international bankers and the United States. And Russia's trying apparently to help, but they're all connected. We're a one world government. We're Earth Inc. And we don't really exist as individual nation states as we're told we have. And the only reason we're told that there are borders in individual nation states so that war can be fomented and we can send in bombs and troops and keep the population reduced through wars. And this is why I mentioned the report from Iron Mountain. The report from Iron Mountain discusses the replacement for wars, creating the ecology and the global warming fraud that we now see.
Please elaborate on that case.
Yeah, this is so important because what we see is the education in all the schools now scaring everybody into believing that we're running out of energy. I know that when I interviewed Ted Turner a number of years ago, which is up on YouTube, and I would recommend everybody watch it. It's called Ted the Terrible. And Ted spoke about how there would be reduced food supplies, reduced water, and there were just simply too many people using too much stuff, and we would ultimately cannibalize one another.
I understand, yeah. You're referring to that the electricity goes off for the entire weekend and panic breaks loose locally.
Well, that's
and
one
then
of the aspects of the Climate Action Plan. They do talk about fires and floods that will be part of the weaponized weather events that we will all be facing, increased viruses, and power outages are pretty standard, that I'm finding a common thread through many of the hundreds of climate action plans that I've taken a look at.
Yeah. Have you ever, I would just say this before the next question is that I'm pro Putin, and I would say that Putin, as far as I'm aware of, Russia has banned fluoride water and GMO, and is in conflict with Monsanto, hence the Ukraine war. Funny enough, that is, they say, is the reason, Monsanto. I feel like if Putin wasn't there, then it would definitely be a one world order, as you're referring to. But I think that things are a little bit different that side of the world.
Well,
So when you double
traveled
check,
to Russia, and what we saw was the same amount of weather control that we have here, that what we're seeing today. So there are no borders to prevent the wireless deployment. Russia has the smart grid deployment. Russia is also building the smart cities and moving the populations into buildings. And there's a very fascinating Netflix movie that I would recommend everybody see. It's called City 40. That's City 40. And that's just outside of Moscow. It was a city that was built during World War II, and where they literally built a city with museums and libraries and schools, but it was completely barbed-wired, closed. The people that lived there could not, they lived there and they died there. And when you watch...
is this a recent film?
It's a documentary. Recent. I don't know when it was released, but again, it's City 40. Take a look at this, and at the very end of the movie, you'll see them scroll through all of the other cities throughout the world that are confinements for populations. They live there and they die there, and it's surreal.
It is.
And they initially constructed the city that is in the documentary, City 40, outside of Moscow, to create plutonium for an atomic bomb. And they brought in their best and brightest scientists. They moved them in. They wanted to contain the information that they were creating the bomb. So they built this beautiful city with museums and schools. They had the families move there. There were several hundred people. They created an environment where the people would feel comfortable and privileged to live there, and they would have guaranteed employment. So I would recommend watching this, because back in that period of time, the Russian people were under fairly strict rationing, and the City 40 offered grocery shopping to buy food. Well-stocked grocery stores. You'd just walk in and take what you needed. It was really an amazing documentary from a woman that literally fled City 40, that was born into City 40 because her parents lived there. And what we see here is a very similar comparison to the smart cities that we're all being herded into now.
Okay, so I understand that Trump, the last announcement, it was 6 weeks ago, he was talking about 5G. He said he wanted to be individual from China and have access to their own on and off plug, and have a fair competition with China. And where does UK stand then, if they are both individuals, US and China competing with each other? Where's UK standing, and are they really using the same type of tech? I understand you just mentioned that Russia is already building smart cities, but maybe there is an alternative way to do that with less radiation and hazardous effects on a human health. Everyone wants to have access to their own switch-off plug. This is an announcement he made in the White House, Trump, and And I know that around England they're already building smart cities. They, even me locally, and basically you're saying that it's anyways in one world government. They're operating together, and
it's borderless. We're Earth Inc. And they're all working under the IPCC, the climate requirements. When you look at the green credit, don't think of green. There's also neuro-linguistic programming going on with words. When you see or hear green, think of brown, think of death. Because what these agendas are anything but green. It entails eliminating all plants, destroying the environment as we know it, intentionally.
Yeah, because the new legislation now, I don't know if it's because of Brexit. I had a word with an individual part of a UK shipping company. It's one of the largest ones. And the new legislation 2020 requires all the large corporations using a large amount of petroleum for their equipment are required to switch over to alternative petroleum, and that petroleum is going to be like having some sort of lubricative for fuel life extension. And they're already promoting it online.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about that is in California, we have what we call a summer blend with our gasoline for our cars, and they're putting in GMO corn. So it's corn-based, and they add it to our fuel. Every single consumer item has the opportunity to select something that will cause health effects and or injure us.
Yeah, absolutely. They use rapeseed oil in Sweden for the buses, and rapeseed oil they sell in the food store as a food source. So it's crazy. What is the solution?
Crazy.
What is the solution? Let's talk about that.
Well, the solution, honestly, when you understand, I have to answer that question this way. The solutions are going to be based on what you understand and learn what the problem is. So if you don't know the depth of what we're talking about right now, your solution will be very different. But if you understand the depth of what we face, then your solutions are also different. So for many people right now who are understanding the depth of what we really face, they're being drawn to their spirituality. They're being drawn to becoming connected with their higher power, with God, with Jesus, more prayerful. Certainly looking at the evil that's surrounding us in all of these genocidal plans. And so again, the solution is based on what you understand the problem to be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you very much. I really feel as well that we still have the option to take control of the situations. Unfortunately, if you have a 5G street lamp in front of your house, it's unfortunate, but you have the choice to relocate end of the day, That is still a choice, thank God.
Well, there are those choices. When you see the 5G go up, you can, certainly many people in Northern California, where I'm from, are protesting the streetlights, the LED streetlights. Not only are they weapons, but they also cause severe eye damage, and they affect your circadian rhythm, and they affect your melatonin, so you're not able to get the depth of sleep for healing and recovery from the day's wear and tear. And this is known.
Yes, absolutely. This is known, and people are talking about it, even the ones who don't know the term.
Right. So I guess what I would recommend is certainly everyone can go to stopthecrime.net, go to our YouTube video channel. We will be posting, because we are promised this summer of 2019 ravaging fires in the state of California. But the state of California will not be exclusive to fires. Fires are listed in the majority of the climate action plans as the results of us not reducing our carbon footprint and reducing CO2 emissions. So again, understand the hoax, understand the crimes, and understand the global disruption that is being created based on the requirement of retrofitting all homes. This is simply asset stripping everybody. That's what this is.
Yeah. It really is. I think this is going to be an interesting year. It's the pig year. I'm born on the pig year, and it's very revolutionary. It's really been very stormy this year. Would you agree with me? Very stormy this year. People are standing up.
Stormy on many levels.
Yeah.
Economically and weather-wise, and many earthquakes. We're certainly aware that reservoirs and dams cause earthquakes. Very important to understand how we're being booby-trapped locally. It's a phenomenal year in the sense that I also feel that more people are starting to question beyond their ideas and the propaganda that they've been told.
Yeah. No, I'm a believer that if you combine it with spiritual beliefs, I don't like that word, Deborah. Spiritual. It sounds like such mumbo jumbo. But you gotta, yeah. But
I think what is occurring is when you really look at the documents and you realize these are genocide documents, they're black, they're satanic, they're evil, whatever you want to call it. Whoever is in charge, whether they're Illuminati, whether it's Satan, whether it's satanic, this is the end of humanity as we have known it. This is a transhumanism agenda where we are being defined as being useless, and we are being replaced by machinery. And on StopTheCrime.net we have an extremely important document. I call it the NASA War Document. And it's about bots, Borgs, and eliminating humans.
yeah. Are you gonna get politically involved too as well?
Well, I am politically involved.
Okay.
With just getting out this information.
Okay.
And for me, I'm going to keep rolling out the truth from the documents, and with the understanding that we're already in a one-world government, and that there are no borders, that the wireless is borderless, the chemtrailing is borderless.
I understand, but do you have anyone from active political status supporting you? You don't, obviously. You don't.
Well, in the political realm, running for office is within the constraints of an illusion. The political offices are defined by the corporate structure. And I would welcome everybody to look at a YouTube. It's a short YouTube called The Swamp, SWAMP. And you will find well-meaning congressmen that were elected to office in Washington, D.C. And this is filmed within their Washington, D.C. offices. And it shows their shock of their inability to do anything. All of their campaign pledges, everything that they thought they were elected for, they found out that everything is being run by the staffers.
Are you in touch with any of them?
We have supported a number of council people in the past that were aware of UN Agenda 21 when they were trying to prevent the city that they were representing from signing on to United Nations policies. And they're like only one of 5 or 6 people. And there were probably 50 of us that went down to support this one city council member, but he was outvoted. And what everybody was trying to tell the other council members to avoid, they all voted it in. So what we're finding is, I'm not finding, I think what I am finding and what I am realizing is that many of these legislators are already mind controlled.
Okay. That is the case.
That is the case. And sadly, the agendas are rolling forward. The climate action plans are entangled in all of our building codes and all the planning codes. And the plan to reduce CO2 emissions and greenhouse gas emissions they are genocide policies.
Okay.
So I just want to thank you.
Thank you
For the interview.
Thank you very much.
And I'm just going to send everyone blessings and encourage everyone to learn what reality is and just do anything that you can, because we really are on this path all together, whether you realize it or not. You can't jump off this ship.
It's a very interesting and mystical path. That's the good news as well. So it's all unfolding, and everything that's happening is meant to be exactly as it is. The creepy crawlies have revealed themselves, and this is better than them being hidden. This is very, very good news for me, at least. And thank you, Deborah, ever so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.